This is Tuomas from Wolfheart, and you are listening to Brutally Delicious Podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
70,000 tons of metal.
The original, the world's biggest heavy metal cruise. 60 bands, 4 days, one cruise ship, only 3,000 tickets.
From Miami, Florida to Ocho Rios, Jamaica.
January 30th to February 3rd, 2025. 5 days and 4 nights mingling side by side with your favorite artists in this incredible fan-friendly scenario that has no comparison.
Go to 70,000tons.com and book your ticket
Now.
How are you?
I am good. Let me just take this blur effect off. Better. The light is a little bit fucked up. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Good to see you again, my friend.
It is sorry that there was a little bit like a rescheduling from my part. Haven't been my best promo cycle with the schedules because
Yeah, life happens, right?
yeah, that happens.
Life gets in the way of real stuff, so I get it.
Yeah.
You doing okay?
Yeah, all good, all good.
How's the what's been the response to the record so far?
Really, really good. Like every time we are like Googling the reviews just for the social media content, but this is so far the average is above of every album we've done before. So, and also with from the fans, it's one big positive thing about the new label is that they allowed us to do a lot more music videos than we usually do. So this is the 4th video out, and when you put out a video, that's like an open forum for any feedback. Like you have the whole comment section of the YouTube, it opens the comment section of Facebook for the feedback, and fans in general or metal music listeners, they don't like hold back nowadays. It seems like everybody lost all the filters, how to comment and what to comment. So it's if you do well in those comment section, then things are really good.
Do you pay much attention to the negative stuff, or do you kind of just let it fall off your back?
It does depend quite a lot. Like if it's just like you can really easily see when it's just a random negative comment when it doesn't make any sense at all to us. But if like 9 out of 10 would be about one particular thing, and that would create a pattern. Like everybody is complaining about really shitty bass drum sound or some like productional thing, then that probably is the case. Then that's something we didn't hear because we got a little bit deaf on the production process. But it's never been the case. It's just random. Somebody hates clean vocals. Somebody loves clean vocals. Like it's you always find the opposites at some point. So no, we don't really pay attention to that because that would just, I think it would just drive anybody crazy.
Yeah, easily.
If you don't stand behind your own art and you get upset because somebody else doesn't like it, then you probably shouldn't do the art. But again, if there's a pattern, then that might mean something. But when it's just individual feedback, good or bad, then that shouldn't pay too much attention to.
So you mentioned, I know you with a new record label and the whole thing, and you mentioned that it was a different sort of process. But so how much of the writing process went into thinking about those extra videos that you were going to do? Was there any sort of idea going into the writing process, hey, these are going to be videos, so they have to be, I don't know, different, or I don't want to say better, but you know what I'm saying? Was there a different way of approaching them?
Not really. We didn't know about the video budget until the album was basically ready because we were already making the album. We were already in the studio when we started the negotiation with the Raining Phoenix. So that process was already ongoing. It was like a second Christmas when we knew how much we can put like an input on the videos, because usually it's like more like a headache. You can only choose 2, max 3 songs to make a video. That means that like you're gonna lose some of your favorite songs that are not gonna make it because you don't have enough options to do the videos. Now we knew that it's gonna be 5 to 6 videos on this album, so that's like you don't need to do this qualification, which will like a raffle or voting. you just put all your favorites on the list, and you get to do videos for each. So it's that was super cool, but it didn't affect on the writing process at all.
Okay. So Draconian Darkness, really great record, really heavy. Do you put a lot of time like into writing or not writing the previous record? Like you don't want to go back and write your last record, right? You have to, but you still want to stay in the Wolfheart wheelhouse. You don't want to alienate fans, right?
Well, now it was easy because on the previous album, especially the concept of the album was like steering the whole like musical process because it was about the Finnish and Nordic mythology. From my point of view, as like a Finnish person, that's very like kind of like romantic topic because that allowed me to go very far in the Finnish and Nordic history and the pagan stuff and these ancient beliefs. So that's not, from my perspective, it's not dark and aggressive topic like the previous one that was Wolves of Karelia that was about the Winter War.
Right.
That again, the topic was like steering the music to very like aggressive direction because it was the war. Now it was the nature and the animals and the demigods in this like pagan hierarchy and stuff
Right.
like that. But this album is a lot more like about what I think is going to happen eventually, the end of the world, like the very apocalyptic album, very dark. So that kind of like pushed the music like naturally to very dark and heavy like directions. I didn't need to think about the previous album or will this differ enough or too much? How would this go for the fan base? And like I said about the feedback, it's you can't never please everybody because there's always going to be somebody who loved the direction of the previous. Why did you put so many blast beats? Why did you
Right.
put so many growling? And then the other person was like, "This is what I've been waiting for 10 years. Finally, you do this." So it's I don't think any bands should think too much about the fan base because 2 years ago when the previous album came out, we were different persons. Our listeners were in a different place. Like it's not like you can calculate or plan like what they might like this time or so it's you just do the music that you want to do and then you basically when it comes to the fan base you hope for the best that they will like, but you shouldn't think too much about them when you're writing the album because we need to play the songs hopefully several hundreds of times on the tour.
Right.
We need to love the music first, and then if that love is shared by the fan base, that's of course awesome, but that basically is a bonus that follows later on.
So you mentioned, I know we're all in different places, right? We can't help because of the world we live in at the moment. And the record is sort of, you said, like apocalyptic in nature or whatever. But so do you feel a sense of responsibility to your listeners, you know, reading your lyrics or listening to your lyrics? Is there like a takeaway or is it just your own thoughts?
Well, I do think about that to a certain point. Like I don't want our music to carry any like political agenda or status. The same goes with religions. I want to keep us out from certain opinions. That's not like what I think music is for. Not this.
Right.
Of course, with the lyrics, there's a lot of my personal observation. Even with the Winter War, which was very defined topic. It was just 3 months in Second World War, but still it had a lot of my own point of view and my thoughts. But I would never want to push any of my actual ideas or beliefs to the listeners. So that's something that I think about sometimes, like especially this current climate in the social media. People might like get attached to very small details, and then it can get really harmful for the band. Like when we did the King of the North, our label even suggested like. Avoid certain topics or certain words, or don't put any like certain pagan symbols on the album graphic, like runes.
Right.
Because there's like this Antifa in Europe might make things a lot more harder for us in the touring scene.
Right.
That happened even for Moon Sorrow, another Finnish band. They are singing in Finnish language, which is like makes them kind of like nationalist in a way, which they are not musically or lyrically, but they had one of their tours almost canceled fully because of that. So
Right.
there are certain things that it's smart to be a little bit careful of, because there's a lot of things that are not in your control, and it doesn't matter what you actually meant when you wrote that certain thing. If that gets like misunderstood in purpose, maybe that
Done.
will backfire. Yeah, exactly. That will backfire, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no way you can explain yourself later on. That's how the social media works nowadays. First comes the damage, then comes the,
Right.
and then you can salvage something when you try to explain, but the you already have the damage to deal.
So that puts you in a sort of a, I don't want to say a conundrum, but it almost like, does it almost like tie your hands together when
I
when
will.
you're creating, because you've got to think of that as well, right? You can't be, I want to say this in this way. You have to, maybe you want to say it, but you're gonna have to say it a different way, or something like that, right?
It ties very tiny bit. Luckily, our like my agenda with the lyrics has never been to push any of my ideas or
Right.
ideology or something. So that way, I just, with certain like words and terms, I need to be a little bit careful. But I don't need to change any basic meaning of my lyrics. I don't need to
Right.
write something that I wouldn't want to write. So it doesn't affect me that much. It's just like this new a little bit gray area that I need to focus a little bit more
Right.
better. But I don't think it like it ties my hands in that sense.
Okay. I got to see you guys last year on the 70K, and I know we had talked about it, I don't know, a year before, if you guys were ever going to make it, and it was amazing. What was that experience like?
That weird, weird. Like we did the 70K this year with both of my bands, Wolfheart and Before the Dawn.
Yeah.
Now it was a lot more relaxing now because I knew what I was getting into. But like this like very Nordic introvert metalhead person that likes to be in the forest or go to fishing alone, being trapped in a boat with 3,000 metalheads for 4 days, that kind of like is to me it's very extreme experience. But on the second trip I already knew places where I can get my own space on the boat. There's not many people in the gym apparently. There's
Right.
like one place at the end of the boat where there's like this small basketball court. So
Yeah.
that's a good hiding spot for me. So I could maneuver better on the second time. But the first time it was, especially the first 24 hours was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's crazy. I
Yeah.
love it. I've gone every year since 2011, covering it for the podcast or whatever. And but I'm, not the Nordic guy who's, I do like nature, but I'm not, more of a secluded sort of person. But I love it. It's amazing.
The second time was super cool. Like I think it was more like a small shock for me on the first time,
Right.
and the second time because I knew what I was getting into. It was like a super like, even though I was playing like a double amount of shows,
Right.
and we had the most horrible schedules ever. We
Yes. You were like 3 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning. Yes.
yeah, it was like no, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. Like three
It was
thirty was
late.
full hard, 5 a.m. was before the dawn, and then 7:30 the boat was already in the Dominicans or Cuba where were we, and we went to the beach. So it's like I was sure that there's not going to be anybody, but that luckily on that boat, a lot of people never go to sleep. So that was
Oh, I know.
yeah, but
Yeah. That's a good time. What do you guys have planned for this tour cycle? You guys going to be out on the road a lot?
yeah, actually we are currently touring Finland. This is the second weekend of the Finnish tour. November we're gonna tour Europe with the Dark Tranquility and Moonspell.
Oh
Then
yeah, I just saw Dark Tranquility here with Amorphous last
yeah,
week.
yeah, they're
Great show.
touring right now. Yeah,
Yeah, really good show.
and next year we're gonna do North America again. Hopefully we go back to Australia that we did the first time in the beginning of this year. Then there's the festival season, and then second European and North American tour hopefully before the next year ends. So it looks like super busy times.
That's great. So I remember talking to you way back. We were on a bus here in Richmond, and I was doing that film on mental health or whatever. We were chatting for a bit, and you mentioned that you were like a caretaker or a groundskeeper or something over in Finland, right, of a place. So how does it make you feel like when you go from that to like touring Europe and touring Australia. That's pretty amazing, right?
It
In the
is.
end,
Yeah, I'm actually gardener. Or I used to be. This is my second year that I don't do any gardening or landscaping because schedules doesn't allow me to. I'm getting
right?
older. I need a little bit more time to sleep and relax. So now I'm just focusing on the music, and maybe later on I will go like fully back on the day job, and then when I'm done with the touring. But the contrast is extreme because I work alone most of the time.
Right.
That means that the whole day at work I spend alone. I go to different work sites and do my thing, plant some trees, plant some bushes, take care of some grass areas, or build some parks or playground places for kids. And then suddenly you're on a tour bus, and every day you see hundreds or thousands of new people, and you have like this tiny bubble that you can kind of call your own time and own space. So,
Right.
and it is like a, but they both work well for me. Like I like both, but I always after the tour, I'm super happy, go back to work and just be on my own. But always after a certain time of being alone at the job, I'm also super happy to jump on the plane or the tour bus. So they actually balance, even though
Right.
they're both very extreme from each other, they create this like perfect balance.
That's great. And you go from planting trees, like you said, to screaming in Australia to, 30,000 people. It's kind of crazy.
It is like I wouldn't think of any more extreme like opposites when it comes to work, like both jobs that I have. But yeah, I'm lucky that I'm so well adapt to both extreme sides because yeah, I wouldn't want to like leave completely each one of those.
Right. And I think you see that a lot in the metal world, right? Because there's always those memes of like the black metal bands in full makeup running through the woods and doing that stuff. And I think there's always that extreme in metal, right? Because you get like the guys from Mayhem screaming on stage and then writing about nature or disappearing into the woods.
And definitely, especially with the Nordic bands, a lot of bands are very like inspired by the nature, and you see a lot of like if you follow them on social media, they might spend a lot of time like the guy who the I don't remember the name, but he writes most of the songs for Borknagar,
Uh-huh.
and his actually studio is in the wilderness, right in the middle of nowhere, in the amazing like a scenery in Norway. And then when he comes to the tour, he's trapped in a bus with 15 other guys
Right.
standing on the stage looking like a metal god every night. So it's like it kind of like it made a lot of sense. It's very natural balance for at least for Nordic people because we do write a lot of the metal about the nature. We shoot music
Yeah.
with nature. We have the nature in quite often in the album covers also. So it's like a big part of the visual side
Yeah.
also.
So what's next for you guys? You said you got the tour with Moonspell and you're going to be touring pretty consistently now?
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty much the next year, like tour all over. And yeah, not gonna think about new album for a while now. So it's just especially now that the first we conquered the whole COVID situation, but then the Russia-Ukraine conflict made a lot of things very complicated when it came to the touring in Europe. Like we didn't have these challenges ever. And now that is getting a little bit more normal. Of course, it's like this very thin balance, like it can go horribly wrong at any time. And we can have like this martial law situation for the whole Europe if NATO has to step in.
Right.
But if things stay as they are, this is the most normal like touring year ahead, and the festival summer of next summer that we haven't have had in like 5 years. So no, it's a lot more
Nice.
pleasant to tour. Also, it's like a lot less. We had so many stress factors in the past few years,
Right.
and so many like in obstacles, and obstacles for bands always mean that you lose more money.
Oh
That's just
yeah, and it's not easy out there for sure.
yeah. Every obstacle comes with a price tag, so it's not just like you something you need to get over with, but it will hurt financially at some way. So
Right.
this looks now it looks like the most normal that we have in years. So now it feels a lot more fun when you're
Right.
not like this bundle of stress, but you can actually just go to the touring cycle like it used to be. You just focus on the shows and the places you want to see on the road and people you're going to see on the road,
Right.
not the how much things are going to cost and how much we're going to lose money if this and this happens. And yeah.
So I'm not the best in the geographic area, but you guys are pretty close to the ground zero and all that stuff, right?
Well,
I think as far as Nordic countries, you're right there.
yeah, we have our longest border is with Russia. So then again, the Ukraine is luckily a few thousand kilometers below us in the Europe. But of course, it doesn't really help because anything that happens there, if there's escalation in the war, that's going to hurt very badly the Central Europe. And that's where all the main touring happens. So then it doesn't help us that we are basically a little bit more safer up in the north. We are part of NATO now. We have very strong military. We have Norway and Sweden also. So I don't think we're going to be in trouble. But that doesn't help if all the prices go up in Germany and the Central European area. Because now the tour buses are like double the price. The gasoline is one of the most expensive in the whole world.
Right.
So flying is a lot more expensive. People have less money to go to concerts. Most of
merch, right.
Yeah, and for example, most of the gas that came to the Germany for heating houses and for the industrial use that used to come from Russia. That is now not in play anymore. So that had a huge impact. A lot of people they didn't know what's going to happen financially, so they just stopped going to concerts. You didn't no pandemic anymore, but everybody was just afraid for the next week. So
yeah,
so
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that is all I had, my friend.
So,
I said that's all I had. I appreciate you taking the time and actually making this work. I know you didn't have to, so it was nice.
Yeah, of course I had to. Like it was my bad in the first case. I'm being the worst scheduling person. One good thing also about the new label, I've never done this amount of interviews. That's been I told them like, just bring it on. I will do whatever you can throw at me.
Right.
But now this is like 120 interviews done, and I wasn't prepared for this amount of time. So I've been mostly struggling to rest of my time. How can I actually get the things done? Because I thought it's going to be like 3 or 4 max per day, and maybe like in a crazy week I'm going to do 20 interviews. But when it was 40 per week, they like
right. No, I get it.
This snowball effect started, and I had to start rescheduling some of the interviews behind the labels back because I didn't want to put too much extra work on them. But thank you for rescheduling. So we got it.
Always, man. No worries. I love the record. Good luck. Hopefully we'll see you here in the States and maybe on 70K somewhere down the road. I know not this year, right? Because they don't do the double back, but maybe next year we'll catch you again.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I appreciate your time, my friend. Good luck with the record. Good luck with everything. Good seeing you again.
Thanks.
Be well. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.